Tubers, tubettes, and of course crazy people. Should you possibly not move to the Philippines? I have, over the last 7 years of living here, observed many a fellow come over here, adapt to the culture, embrace it, and it fits them like a glove. They have had the ability to reboot, regenerate, almost reinvent themselves, or better yet, rediscover or finally discover who they really are. And they find some peace, they find some joy, and they find some happiness. There is a group of guys that I've also observed that the opposite is true. They come over here and they are in just abject misery. They hate it. So, I want to be realistic on the channel. It's not paradise. It's not nirvana. It's not the cure-all to all your ills. But why does it work for some guys? And why does it just not work for others? So what I'd like to do is invite you to join me on a little journey where we'll take a little walk and we'll review some of the challenges that guys meet and how they meet them, and some of the challenges that guys meet and how the challenges beat them. All right, here comes my goofy little video. All right, well, like I said in the introduction, some people are going to, come over here and for the most part thrive, and other guys aren't. And I want to just be real clear and candid up front. Those that I say don't make it, I want to just be really clear that I don't think you failed. I think, in fact, I commend you. I commend you for coming over, putting your toe in the water, taking a look around, going for the proverbial test drive, and saying, this isn't for me. And I think the sooner you come to that conclusion, the better. I don't think that 2 weeks is enough time, but I do think a couple, 3 months, go through the ups and the downs and the ins and the outs, because forewarned is forearmed. Your first month or two here is the toughest. That's when you've got to do the knucklehead stuff. You've got to decide where you want to live, how you're going to get an apartment, transportation, exchanging money, meeting people, trying to adapt to this whole new culture, the weather, the attitudes of the people, your attitude. And believe me, that takes a couple of months just to sort of get acclimated here. So let's just play pretend and say that you've been here for 6 months. If you find yourself unhappy, and you've been unhappy for the last 3 out of the 6 months, the first 3 months, you were kind of dazed and confused. You were kind of excited because it was a new place. You were seeing all kinds of stuff you hadn't seen before. You were seeing pretty girls, and you were seeing poverty, and you were seeing funky buildings, but at the same time you were meeting some cool people. And it's sort of this mishmash of stuff that's going on those first 3 months. You get yourself, I'm going to say, settled in to some degree. And then the next 3 months, every time you leave the house, because there's so many knucklehead things that go on over here on a day-to-day basis, you find yourself just wanting to beat your head against the wall. And there's no crime in that. I cannot tell you how many times I have been standing in line to purchase something, at the bank to make a transaction, in a restaurant just trying to order a meal, where I'm really just sort of like standing on one foot and then the other, and then one foot and then the other, and I'm kind of like tapping my hands, and things are just not going as I know they could. I've been exposed to efficiency. I've been exposed to people doing things quickly. I've been exposed to people doing things on time. And speaking of time, I've been exposed to people being on time, who respect time. And then when you come to the Philippines, you're going to find the flip side of all those things. Okay, so, and that is something that you can either accept and adapt to, or you can't. And I think the primary driver, I think the whole thing, I can wrap it up pretty much in a nutshell with one word, and it's temperament. What is your temperament? On a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being that you have a super hair trigger. You get pissed quick, and it stays that way. 10, you barely got a pulse. Okay. I'd put myself at about a 7. And I get irritated, I get annoyed, but I've learned that the alternative is better than the minor inconvenience that I'm experiencing at the time. Yes, there is inefficiencies, especially in any kind of bureaucracy over here, from renewing your driver's license to getting a driver's license to negotiating rent to renting anything, buying anything, finding places to go, traffic congestion, language, people that say yes when they don't know what they're even talking about, they just agree with you. I could go on and on and on. Oh, brownouts, water outs, things that we've grown to just, take for granted or suddenly stripped away from us. And either we can say, okay, this is messed up. How can I adapt to it? What can I do? What kind of adjustment do I need to make to get through this? There came a time for me where I realized when I went to a restaurant, here's my example, and I ordered food that I spoke very slowly, and the server, male or female, and I was giving them an order, and they would say, what would you like? And I would say, okay, I'm going to have, and I'll just say the cheeseburger, and I would point to it. And then I shut my mouth. And I wait, because they handwrite the entire word, cheeseburger. And then, how do you want that cooked? Well, I want it cooked medium. And I wait. And then they said, and what would you like to drink? And then I'll tell them what I want to drink. And then, okay, the sides are French fries or this or that or the other. And I'll tell them that. And it's just one of those little nuanced things that I've learned. It's starting to rain. I hope you can still hear me. That's another thing that'll drive you nuts, trying to make a video when it starts to rain. Anyway, I'll watch guys, and I've done this, but I'll watch a guy order the exact same hamburger. And he will say, what would you like, sir? I want a cheeseburger. And the guy starts to write cheeseburger. And then he says, but I don't want this on it, and I don't want that, and can you give me extra pickles? And he's just screwed himself. He's confused the guy. It's just the way it works here. You have to make a statement. You have to be quiet. Let them finish. It's simple. It's a simple type of mentality that we're dealing with over here. There are guys that will order the cheeseburger I just talked about, and they will ask at some point in time that you don't put any onions on it. And it comes, and guess what? It's got onions. Now, for a guy like me with a 7 temperament, I'll realize that it came incorrectly, and I'll open the bun up. You know what I do? I pull the onion off. Okay, you screwed up, big deal. I'll just take the onion off because I don't want the onion, and I'll eat my cheeseburger and enjoy it. Now go to the temperament number 1 or 2. Excuse me. I said no onion, and makes a big scene. And then the server now feels humiliated. You're a guest in his country, by the way. And then I know one guy ordered a pizza, and it didn't come with, or he didn't want something on it, tomatoes, I think. He said he wanted it with no tomatoes. And then it came with tomatoes. And so he went through the whole thing with the server dressing him down in front of the entire restaurant, and then demanded to see the manager. And then went up to the manager and made a big scene. And guess what? His friggin' pizza still had the stupid tomatoes on it. And I asked him later, I said, when he was telling me the story, and he was kind of bragging about, I was showing them. And I said, can't you just pull the tomatoes off that pizza as if it came without any? And he looked at me and he goes, well, yeah. And then I just shut up. I let him know that, you know what, you made a big effing deal about something that didn't need to be made a big deal of. It was fixable. And if you can't handle a little minor mistake like that, if that's going to trip your trigger, wait until you pull out to the parking lot. If you've got that hair trigger, you are going to be spending your time over here in just a constant state of inner turmoil, unhappiness, angst, and anger. And you know what? That's not only hard on you, it's hard on the people around you. If I was sitting at the table with the guy and he made that kind of a scene while I was there, I would want to melt into the floor. It's how big of a deal is it? And it's fixable by you. But you're Mr. Big Shot, you're Mr. Moneybags, you're Mr. this, you're Mr. that. And there's a lot of guys here that are Mr. Fix-It. There are 101 things that I can name right now that's broken and could easily be fixed in businesses, in restaurants, the way that the cash register works, the way that they ring you out. I've seen it. I've seen it for 7 years. But you know what? I'm not in charge. This isn't Paul's Philippines, okay? This is the Philippines, and Paul is a visitor. So I can either accept the way they do it or not. I find amusement in stuff. I went into Mercury Drug one time in the mall. Starting to rain again. Hope you can hear me. And I wanted to buy one pill. It's called Aloxan. It's for a headache. I got a headache. I said, these Aloxans, and they're great, by the way. If you come over here, Aloxan. Paul recommends Aloxan, better than Excedrin or any of that Advil or any of that stuff. And I went up to the counter and I said, I want Aloxan. She said, how many pieces? That's how they say it. They don't sell you a bottle. They just sell you by the piece. And I said, one. She said, okay. And she got the packet out, the scissors, and she cut one off the little rack and set it down and put the packet away. And then she took that and she put it into a little plastic bag. And then she folded the bag. I'm watching all this go on. So I just wanted to pop it right there in front of her. And then she stapled that. And then she took that little plastic bag and she put it into a brown bag. Took that, folded it, took the receipt for the 8 pesos that I'm paying for this Aloxan. Put the receipt, folded it over, got that stapler out again, and stapled that, and handed it to me. And I paid the money. And I was really tempted just to rip it all open in front of her and pop it. But I thought that would be disrespectful. Why do that? So I just kind of watched how amusing to me that this one single solitary little pill worth a fraction, not even a dime, got the same treatment as if I'd have just bought a $400 water pick, I don't know, at the store. And everything was, the whole system. And I realized over time, the woman was just doing her job. That's what they trained her to do. Everything gets put into a little clear package, and then a brown package, and the receipt, and it's stapled, and it's handed to the customer, just neat as a pin. And what's the difference? I took it outside, I ripped the bags open, I took the pill out of the little plastic, popped it in my mouth, swallowed it without any water, and 10 minutes later my headache was gone. And I was thinking, I could have left her with a real big headache if I'd have been the guy like Joe Pizza. Why are you doing all this? And why want. So, temperament. If you don't have, if you're used to your Western lifestyle. Always having electricity, always having water, always having a lane, having, out here in Dumagetti, it's the Wild West when it comes out to traffic. I love it. I love the fact that there's no police. Occasionally there's a checkpoint, but that's it. And everybody just kind of bobs and weaves and goes in and out. And there's actually just sort of a type of rhythm that you get into. I listen to other guys, and I listen to them every Thursday because that's when we have coffee together. And they gripe. They need to put traffic cops out here. We need to start ticketing people. They need to do this. They need to do that. And I listen to them, and I say to their face whenever they say it, I strongly disagree with you. I just tell them what I just told you. I like it. I like not having any rules and regulations. I like being able to zip up on the sidewalk on my motorbike and go around the slow-moving trike. I don't want to get a ticket on my car. I want to be able to double park every now and then and run in, even though it's uncool, because everybody else is doing it. And you know what? Nobody loses their shit over it other than foreigners. So, temperament. There's a lot of things out here that are great. You're going to have a great time with other expats should you choose to simply be friendly, be mellow, blend in, keep your politics to yourself, and you've got two ears and one mouth. Often it's much better, especially when you're brand new, to listen a lot more than speak. In fact, that's pretty true in most instances. Other guys are going to come over here and be able to embrace the culture because what they had back home was mundane, it was routine, they felt invisible, they didn't feel like they had any worth, they were depressed, and coming over here on this side of the equator opened up a whole new realm of possibilities. They didn't sweat the small stuff. If you're a micromanager and you're a perfectionist, I would take a real strong gut check right now and maybe start looking at other countries. So I can guarantee you, if you're a micromanager, if you're a perfectionist, and if you're a clean freak, Philippines ain't for you. All right, I'll see you in the next video.